Well, I'm officially back from my trip to Japan. That means that starting with this video, it's back to video making as much as I can. But before I get back to the regularly scheduled reviews, and trust me, I have some very fun stuff planned, let's talk about my trip. So once again, I was staying at Akihabara, in the same place I was staying last time actually. This was definitely a more condensed trip, although due to some unforeseen complications, I didn't get to go everywhere again this time around, just mainly the places I had thankfully planned in advance. For the first day of the trip, after arriving and settling into my room, I went to Shibuya and once again, Sangenjaya. It's definitely a special and important place for me to visit, and this time I actually managed to have someone take my picture and take some pictures of myself thanks to having a new inward-facing camera. Shibuya Crossing was as busy and as bustlingly atmospheric as it always is. I walked around the hub, visited Don Quixote, bought some snacks, and in the Shibuya Underground Mall area, there was a really cool display for the new My Hero Academia movie, which I went to go see, and we'll have a review up for soon. Then, after all of that, I took the Den and Toshi line to one of my favorite places to visit. I swear I didn't notice that sign when taking the pictures, and since everyone I ran to and said hi to didn't seem to mind, I was just being quiet and as respectful as I could. I think everything was okay while taking pictures. Honestly, the Sangenjaya back alleys are incredibly comfortable, and the people who live there are extremely pleasant and kind. I actually remember to check how correct the area where Tay in the movie theater would technically be, and it's completely different in the actual location. However, there is still a convenience store to visit, a 7-Eleven to be exact. Also, I'm not sure if the batting cages are still there. In the exact same location it is in-game, there is an indoor golfing area with a bunch of new posters hung up for that exact spot. So I'm not sure if the baseball place closed down. I knew it had a lot of bad reviews, but that'd be really kind of sad if it did. Also, before we return to the rest of my trip, let's talk about convenience stores in Japan real quick. Honestly, my personal favorite would have to be the Dragon's Quest Lawson's in Akihabara. They have really friendly staff and my favorite selection of things to buy. Well, most days. Honestly, while it's great that they changed up their stock, it's not always all that great to go in and find they don't currently have what I'm craving at that moment in stock. Still, the variety is great and the staff is really awesome, and no, I'm not sponsored by Lawson's, as cool as that would be. If I had to rank the 3 major convenience stores I usually visit when there, not counting Don Quixote because that's more of just an everything store, it would have to be Lawson's in first place, Family Mart close behind because Family Mart is also really friendly and has some really good ice cream selection, then 7-Eleven in dead last. Honestly, I've never really found anything appealing in the Japanese 7-Elevens, although I really do like the aesthetic of them. Anyway, let's admire Akihabara for a minute because honestly, it really doesn't get enough credit with just how pretty the area looks outside the main hub. It's very visually appealing and everything just feels like it fits right into place. Regardless of what weather or how busy it is, Akiba just feels right. On the list of major things I did, there were 3 major things. 2 were planned, and then 1 hit me by surprise, and I was so incredibly happy that I managed to attend the event and not miss out. That event, Jump Festa 2020 or 2019. I'm not sure if it jumps a date or it goes back one. Either way, I attended Jump Festa. Jump Festa was not only free, but was an incredibly darn fun time. I got a bunch of really awesome stuff for free just by visiting each of the booths, and I even got to fulfill one of my greatest goals of the trip. I got to hug Morgana. Oh, and I also got to play Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers, a few months early before release, and that was pretty darn cool too. Yes, I do plan on having a video out about how the game was soon, or at least that's the hope and plan. Also, can I get an F in chat for my JoJo's Battle Royale bag? Yes, it was paper and plastic, but it sacrificed its life so I could get some extra goods I sadly didn't have enough baggage space for home, and while it was completely eviscerated and I have no crazy diamond to fix it, it did its job well, and I salute it. Speaking of JoJo's, I got to play Last Survivor when I visited Nakano. It's a really darn fun game, and probably the best take on a Battle Royale game. I apologize to the poor Japanese woman I continuously destroyed as Dio in game. You were a good sport and also showed me that no matter what game he is in, Koichi is never a good choice to play. Seriously, between this and All-Star Battle, Koichi just really isn't a good character to play. I also did my ritual of getting the Ice Cream Tower, along with beating Persona 4 Ultimax with only a single 100 yen piece. This time, I played as Adachi on a harder difficulty mode and beat the campaign with just a single life to spare. I also went to Harajuku for a bit and came across an underground walkway that I could barely fit in due to how tall I am. I also won a Sanrio design Morgana plush with my last remaining 100 yen coin. Also, a big thank you to the Sega employee who helped me win it. Next are probably my two biggest and most anticipated events of the trip, those being the Persona 5 stage show and Comic-Con 97. I'm going to save my thoughts on the Persona 5 stage show for its own video, but a little spoiler here for all of you, it's simply incredible and easily the definitive way to enjoy the story outside of the vanilla game. Comic-Con is an experience that you really do have to experience for yourself, but at the same time, I'm not sure how many people out there are actually up for the weekend-long set of events that the convention provides. Well, okay, it's not so much a convention as it is one big dealer's den, and a place to potentially make contacts with other people trying to make it in the industry, such as animators, artists, game developers, and cosplayers. Oh, and lots of cosplayers, but you don't run into them much in the halls of the dealers' rooms themselves all that much. They are usually stationed on the main plaza and the roof for photo shoots. So day one, absolutely none of my friends told me about the fact that the entire first day was dedicated to boys love. Day two was a mesh of genres, and easily the day I bought the most amount of doujins. I bought over 100 different books of varying genres, but I'm guessing most of you already know the majority was indeed Persona 5 fan books. But I was also extremely pleased to find some SMT and Raidou fan books that were quite well drawn and very official feeling, even though they were obviously doujins. Day 3 can be summed up in 2 words: organized chaos. By the time I left the completely packed halls of Tokyo Big Sight, my entire body was quite literally bruised all the way up to my chest due to the fact that I was shoved into and mushed around so much for about 4 hours. I surprisingly managed to get all but one of the books I wanted to get, so I can safely say my mission was a success. And if you're wondering why I don't have more pictures of Comic-Con itself, it was mainly because taking pictures in most places was a no-no due to cosplayers or vendors not wanting their faces online, and the other reason was I really wasn't able to get my arms up at all because they were pinned to my side by the crowd. Finally, we arrive at the end of the major events of my trip. Christmas and New Year's were just spent calmly wandering around, enjoying Japan, and also, once again, I have to tip my hat to Lawson's because they were some of the only employees that were really decked up for Christmas. Nothing too major, but I did go visit Odaiba, properly outside of the big site, and went to the Gundam Museum again, got some nice Gundams to build, and also saw the Ghost of the Shell Helix VR movie once again, since that is always a fun time. Sadly, I didn't get to see the Attack on Titan one yet again because it's either always sold out or too late for me to go see it. That about wraps it all up. Naturally, I'm not detailing everything about my trip since there was a lot of stuff I just don't think would be very interesting for this video, but I wanted to share the major highlights of my 2 weeks in Japan. I also might upload a video detailing all the things I got in Japan, but I want to see how that one comes together first. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them down below as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya guys!